Hi, did you know that supporting multiple languages in Unity is actually quite easy? In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the localization. This will include the simple localization, then adding smart strings. So if you have some variables in the text, I'm going to show you how to set up the Google Sheet for it. And also if you got some kind of images that you want to change based on the local, then I'm going to show you that too. And obviously the most important one is supporting different font styles, especially if you want to support Chinese, Japanese, Thai, and etc. these languages. And once we are done with this tutorial, I think with your next big project that you are planning to release, you should start with localization because it's much easier to set it up from the beginning than at some point adding to it, and that takes loads of time, loads of work. Whenever I'm gonna have my next big project, that's gonna be one of the first package I'm gonna import. But before we start, I just want to let you know I started my Discord server, so please join. And all the package files gonna be available on my Patreon as a free tier. So no need for any paying options. Also, I'm going to upload it to my Discord. In the comments, just let me know if I missed something in the localization and if you have any requests I haven't covered. So yeah, let's get started. So in Unity, I set up this simple project. I'm just going to link down which assets I've used. And this is just a plain asset, so nothing worked. So I added some scripts just for the working UI. So if you open up the options, it shows you can go back, change the different languages. And obviously it doesn't do anything right now. I wasn't going too far, so I just added this on and off button. Then these buttons doesn't even work. So it just for demonstration anyway. The other one is the start. So in here we can add some inputs, which is really important when you set up localization, especially for Chinese, Japanese, and these kind of languages. And whenever you just press the sign up, it's just going to give you the loading screen, which is going to be a smart string because you will have to change the percentage. So I'm going to show you that, how to set that up as well. So yeah, that's the basic package we have. And let's jump to the package manager. If you don't know where it is, it's going to be in Window, package management, package manager. And in the Unity registry, you just need to find the localization package. It's 1.5.9 at the time of recording. So I'm going to install this package. Okay, it's installed. So let's set up the localization. I just created a folder and just right click, create and localization. And you need to make a localization settings first. I'm select this folder and just save it and click yes. And you can add the locals here, but you can also add the locals in the edit project settings localization. So in my case, I'm just going to add a few locals, which is going to be obviously English, let's say German, French, Spanish, obviously Hungarian because I speak that language, Korean, simplified Chinese, and Japanese. And maybe Thai because they have a different font style as well. And I'm just going to edit these locals. So again, go to the localization and I'm just going to add it here. Just going to create here a folder, which is going to be called locals. And I'm just going to drag all of them except the localization settings and another folder, which is going to be tables. And how can we create these tables? So just go to Window, Asset Management. This package actually installs the addressable packages, which will be another video. Don't worry about it at this point. So localization tables. And right now we don't have any tables. So we are just going to create one. We're going to use all of the languages we just added. And here it's quite important to just separate these tables. For example, I'm going to make it as the menu UI, and I'm going to create another one for the next one as loading screen UI or something like that. So this is the menu UI. The reason is because right now if you just have one table, it's going to be a huge table, and after the game is growing, it will be just a big chaos. So use multiple tables. That's the whole thing of it. And right here, you have the selected locals. And at the type, you can select string table collection and asset table collection. The asset table collection is going to be, for example, sprites and basically any object you want to change based on the local. So right now we need a string table because we are going to use the text object. So this is going to be the menu UI with the capital I. And I'm going to create it, and it's asking me for a location, tables, and I'm just going to save it here. So let's talk about how this localization table actually works. If you create a new entry, this is going to be the basics of it. If you go to any text object, for example, here, you have a start as a string. But with the localization, you can't do that. So the idea is behind it is you have a key, and for the key, you have multiple text objects, which is going to be based on the language. So for example, the key is going to be menu.start. And obviously the English is going to be start. And what I know is the Hungarian is going to be this one. So what we are going to do is on the text object, we're just going to assign this key to the object, and based on the local, it's just going to change it. Okay, but this one is really hard to manage here. So luckily, the localization table can export and import different file formats. What we are going to use is the CSV file. So just here, I'm just going to create a CSV folder, and I'm just going to export this CSV. Okay, so now I have this CSV file. So now I'm just going to head to the Google Sheet, and here, just a blank project, I'm going to import this file. Just going to set replace to current sheet and import data. So I'm just going to rename it to menu UI localization. And here you can see is the key and the different languages. So what I like to do is select the key and the languages, and I'm just going to add color to it, something like this one, and change the font color. Also, on the English, I just like to highlight it. This is the master. And what is really cool about the Google Sheets is you can actually set up translations. I'm just going to put here the formula what you need to paste in. And yeah, I just added the Chinese, the French, German, and the only thing you need to change is the target language. And you need to use the code. So for French, it's FR, German DE, but you can actually get that from here. So it's just a one-time thing. Now, again, in Google Sheets, you can export it, download it as CSV. So just like before, and I'm going to save it just here. Doesn't matter. And click import CSV. I'm heading to downloads, menu localization, and there you go, load it in. And from this point on, you can give this spreadsheet to external service where they do the translations, or with your community, or whatever you can do. You just download the CSV file, import it, and that's it. Obviously, you can restrict for anybody else to change the keys, because if somebody is accidentally changing the key, it's just gonna break the whole project for you. So how you can do that is just select the whole column, right click, view more column actions, protect range. This is gonna select the A column, set permissions, and only you, or you can add some other people that can change it. And now only I can change it to menu.options, and this is going to be options. And again, just get these. Yeah, see, all done. Right now, again, download a CSV file. Head back to Unity, import CSV, the new sheet, and it will add the next key to it. Okay, and I already set up this localization sheet for you, so you can download it. It's going to be available on my Patreon. And I added all these languages. So in Unity, I just need to add more locals to it. So table, so just go to localization settings, add local. What's missing? So Portuguese, Spanish, Russian, Swedish, and Turkish. Okay, so localization, locals, select folder, and it just added the extra locals to it. Okay, so we already have that menu UI table. So how can we extend with another language without recreating the whole menu UI localization table? So what you need to do is go to the menu UI, and here you can see these missing tables. So we're just going to create. And now if we open up the window, asset management localization tables, it just added these. Okay, for now, I'm just going to download this localization trial CSV file, and I'm going to import it, but I'm just going to remove these because it's just going to be in the way. If the key is not the same, there's going to be a duplicate. And there's other keys and the strings that it needs. Okay, now how can we apply it to the text object? Okay, all you need to do is select the text object. Right now, I'm going to select the start option and exit. Head to the TextMeshPro component, right click and click localize. This one's created a localized string event. So from this point on, you have to go individually because it's going to be, each one of them is going to be a different key. So string reference, here you just simply say menu.start. But again, it's going to be a little difficult to do this when you have multiple tables. So you can select table collection, and then it's going to show only the menu UI. So menu.start and assign it to it. And you do it for the options as well. Since right now I just have one table, I'm not wasting time selecting the table collection. And for the exit is menu.exit, I guess. Okay, and here you can see that's the exit. For the French, no idea. For the Hungarian, obviously it's Google Translate, so it's not really a good one, but for just the demonstration, it's actually a perfect translation service. You can use ChatGPT. There's actually a lot of paid one. I'm just gonna link a few in the description. So there are the locals, and you can check it. If you know more than one languages, you can easily check it's the right one actually. And the other thing is you either start the game, and there's going to be this button up here from English to French, and it's changing the text object. So congrats, you already done the localization. But if you just want to change it during editor mode, just go to Window, Asset Management, and Localization Scene Controls. I'm just going to drag it here somehow like that. Yep. And from Active Local, I can change it to a German or Portuguese. Yeah, so all the languages, you get the idea. But I like to keep it originally to none. Otherwise, when I press start, it's just going to use that local. And if it's conflicting with the settings, it can mess up stuff. So keep it none in the editor, except when you are actively working on it. So yeah, set it to none. Right. So just going through it is, if I go to the settings, this is the tedious part because we just have to go through all the buttons, all the text objects, adding these localization object to it. So yeah, this is the tedious part, but actually when you are creating these UIs and just on the run, you just simply TextMeshPro and the local, it's actually not that difficult. It doesn't take much time, and instead of writing English, well, you at least have to do that once, but you just create a key here to the English one, auto translate the rest of it, download the CSV and import it, and boom, it's already done. So yeah, I'm just going to speed it up because it takes a while. I'm just going to add the localization to these objects. Okay, so that's about it. And if I change the localization scene controls to, for example, Hungarian, there you go, different language. And again, German. Yeah. Okay, so that's about it. And if you change the local to a different one, for example, Hungarian, there you go. All of them is localized now. And if you just start the game, I'm just showing you the on and off. So I'm changing the local to Hungarian and out and out. So with the language itself, right now it's not localizing it properly because it's just doing the English as the text as a localized one. I already set up the settings menu. So some insight with the code. So when I click the options, go to English and select a different language. What I actually do under the hood, if I open it up, I just created this language button. So if I open up the script, what it does here is I have a language option. It's a struct where we store the language name, the language code, and the flag icon for later. And whenever we are clicking the button, it's just gonna have an event fired that language button selected. So different language has been set. And I'm sending in the language option. So with that, I can change the text here to Chinese, Hungarian, whatever. So this is one way to do it. But actually, there's a much simpler way to handle it. And it even gonna be language specific. So let's do that. First of all, changing a language with the button. So as you can see here in the language flag, I have this language code and the language name and the icon. So with the language code, we can actually set the locals in code. So let's do that first. So I'm just gonna go to the language button. It's gonna be actually really simple. So what we need to do is on the language button, when the button is clicked, just set this local. So what we need to use is the localization settings, the selected local, and it's going to equal to, we need to create a local. So local dot create local and language option dot language code, because in the language option, this is where we store the language code. For example, English is EN. And based on that, it's going to know it. And ever since I already set up all of them for each individual one with its right language code. Okay, so the easiest way to set the language text to the selected language is going to be a system property. So culture info dot get culture info, and what we need is the language code. Oh yeah, we need the language code. Dot native name. So in this case, if we set it to German, it should say Deutsch. If we set it to Hungarian, it should say Magyar. Yeah. And Japanese is probably not working at this point. And I just added it to upper. So it will give you the uppercase letters. So yeah, Hungarian, English, French, etc. So yeah, that's it. That's the basic localization. Now talk about the smart strings. Okay, on this loading slider, I just set up something basic, so I just wait a few seconds so it just not instantly loads in. So smart strings. What a smart string can do is, if you open up this script where I'm setting the loading text, it says loading and the percentage. How can we tell Unity we want this to be localized, and also we want the percentage to be a dynamic variable? And here comes in the smart strings. So I'm just going to set up a loading localization table as well. I'm just going to copy all the languages, just create a new spreadsheet. I'm just going to paste it. So for the key on the smart string, I like to use like smart.loading percent, whatever, you can name it whatever you want. So that's going to be the key, and the text itself is going to be this one down here. So loading percentage, and just going to paste it here. And it's really important on the localization. Okay, but at this point it won't work because this percent variable won't be recognized by the localization table. What you need to do in this case, you need to set it to 0. Just adding the different languages quickly. And it's really important if you have multiple variables, then you can do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. I'm just gonna download this CSV file, and in the localization tables, just gonna create a folder for menu UI and one for loading UI. And I'm just going to move them into menu UI, and under the loading UI, we are going to create a new one. So asset management, localization tables, new collection table, select all the locals, what you want, and loading UI. I'm going to create it under localization tables, loading UI. Okay, we created it. And for this one, I'm just going to import that CSV file I just downloaded, and there we are. One more important step is you need to mark it as smart strings. You can do it individually or just do all of them, because we are going to use it all. So you can close it now. Under the loading slider, we need something called localized string. So I just like to use headers, localization, localized strings. So I just created a serialized field, localized strings, loading localized string. And with this one, instead of doing this, we can say localized string dot get localized string. And in here, if you are inspected, we can add these params. This is going to be the variables, and with this we just need to pass in the percent. Without passing in, I'm just going to show you what's going to happen. So here I'm just going to add the string table. Now we can see the smart loading percent. I misspelled everything. And yeah, you can see that the locals, and if I press play, you can see it's going to be just an empty one here. And if I change the language to Hungarian, yeah, but no percentage. Now, if I pass in that percent and press play, now in this case, it's changing the variables on each language you can set. Awesome. And as you can see, there's still one issue with it. So whenever it's changing, so right now, I just wait till it reached 20. I'm changing to Hungarian, nothing happens at this point. And then it starts whenever it's changing. So the issue here is whenever I'm changing the localization, it doesn't automatically changing the localized string only when this function is called. And in this case, we are waiting a few seconds before we are going from 20 to 50. So I'm not changing actually In this case, it doesn't really matter because the only place you can change the local is in the settings, but it could be a case where you are changing the local, and on that page, on the settings page, you set some of the text by code, and if you do that, you can't do it through that TextMeshPro component, that localization component what we did before. So like here on the actual loading bar on the text object, we will never have a localization component, this localized component. We are going to have it on the code object. So this one doesn't change automatically, but whenever we are changing a local, it does fires an event, so we can subscribe to this event. And the event is called localization settings dot the selected local changed, and we can subscribe to it. Let's call it handle the localization changed. And this is going to be a function, and it passes in the local, which right now we don't need. And the only thing we need to do is update this text, update text, and with the slider value in this case. If you have some kind of variable that isn't exposed, so you can't just simply pass in, you actually need to make a private float slider value. We don't need that right now. And whenever it's changing, you just cache it, slicer value. So I'm just caching it, and then I can just repass it at that stage. It sometimes comes in handy, so just remember you can do that way. And obviously we are subscribed to this event, so we actually need to unsubscribe it on the disable as well. And you can do it on start or on destroy, but in this case it's fine right now. One more really important thing is I've experienced it with MetaQuest devices. If you are subscribing to this event too early, like on Awake, and that is the first scene you are in, that's causing a problem. It just completely freezes the app. So the solution for that is you can actually await it. So we just need to await for this. And yeah, so I'm just awaiting for it. In this case, I'm using the C#, so it's the unitask await, not the normal system.task await. Yeah, I highly recommend using that because it's really powerful and you can do so much stuff with it. So I'm using that, and it can handle these async operation handle just out of the box with a simple await. So yeah, I'm awaiting that, and obviously you could do that even here when we actually setting the string, but that creates some overhead. So if like for some reason you need to await there, for example, this function is called from awake as well, and you need to await it here, async, and again, so we could do, so we just await this again. So we could do that, but if it's really frequently called, then if we just give some overhead, it's not really performant. So what we could do up here is just create a private bool, is localization initialized, and here we're just going to set it is localization initialized to true, and in this case we just checking a bool, so if not localized, if it's not initialized, just return, and on the next call it's just gonna do that. So yeah, that's something that worked for me before. So yeah, right now loading, and whenever I change, oh yeah, it's actually changing. So when it reaches 20, setting to English, and it does change. Okay, I'm just gonna disable this because that was the localization for its smart strings. And in here, if I press start and changing the local options, so I'm setting it to Hungarian, and right now it does changing the flag, but I handle it through code with the language, and I had to drag these flags individually for each one of these buttons. This method works, don't get me wrong, but there's a much simpler way. Is gonna be here in the settings. So settings menu. So I do is the language icon image. I just simply change it to the flag icon. It works. It needed a system. I just don't like it because I could use the localization table for that. So we're gonna do that just to showing you, but it could be something like a poster in your game you want to localize. So just treat it like that. So we are going to change an image component in our game. So first of all, I'm just going to create a new localization table, which is going to be a flag table, and window asset management localization table. Create a new table, and right now here, instead of the string table collection, we are going to set the asset table collection. This one is going to be language flag. Okay, localization tables and flag table. Select folder, the created one, and a new entry. So this one is going to be a sprite. So in the settings, if we go to settings, buttons, group, yep, button array, image flag. So here we can set the image to be localized just like before, and the localized asset reference is the new entry. So I'm just going to set it to icon.flag, whatever. And I'm going to set up that icon.flag. Right now we don't see anything, but for the English one, we can quickly drag and drop it to English. So you can see that. So the Chinese, this is the Chinese. I'm sorry if I'm doing the flags wrong. I'm not that good at it. We've done that. And in the code, in the settings, we can actually get rid of this. Oh, I already got rid of that. Settings menu. Yes, I got rid of that. And language button, language option. So the language option, I can get rid of the sprite, which is... Okay, I can get rid of that. I don't need that. And sprite. Okay. Language button, saved. Okay, recompiling, and in theory it should work. So just start the game, options, English, German. Yes, it does work. So Hungarian, Polish. Okay, yeah, cool. The only thing is bugging me is here. It just doesn't make it an upper. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm an idiot. So it's just making the language go to an upper, not the whole thing to an upper. So like this. Okay, option, settings. Yeah, Deutsch, English. The easiest way to fix this English is go into settings, buttons, group, text. Yeah, English. That's it. I know there's a string way to just make the first letter uppercase. I just don't know by heart. So if you want that, you can do that. I'm just going to disable the settings. And the last thing, the tutorial, just for consistency, title ribbon, text tutorial. Yep, let's localize that too. Tutorial. Okay, it does have one. Cool. Tutorial. Okay. Nice. So one last thing is the font. So obviously there's a few languages that doesn't have the Latin letters. So if I set it to Japanese, you got these symbols, and this symbol is the standard symbol for missing characters. So yeah, what can we do with it? So the issue is if we want to set a different font asset based on the language code, it's going to take a tremendous amount of time to code that, select all of that. It's really difficult, but luckily TextMeshPro has an amazing feature, and that's called Fallback Fonts. So on this font, for example, I can set up different fallback fonts. So if it doesn't find it in the original font assets, then it will look for it in the fallback fonts. So I'm just going to create a folder for fonts. And this is the last section for this video. I already downloaded it somewhere. So Noto Sans Japanese, this one. So yeah, Japanese, Korean. I'm just gonna get the medium, regular from all the font assets. So this is the Chinese, simplified Chinese, Japanese, regular, Korean, static, regular, and Thai, medium, regular. Okay. So we have these font assets, but right now it's completely unusable. So to demonstrate what we are going to do here is just going to press play. We are going to use the Japanese language for demonstration. So set it to Japanese. And if I try to write, the normal letters working just fine. But if I get to the localized string, I get any Japanese string. Sorry, I'm just going to copy these two just here and just the values. So this one, if I paste it here, you get the same characters, so we can't use it. What we need to do with these fonts, we need to create font assets, and you can do it in Window, TextMeshPro, and Font Asset Creator. I'm just going to drag this Japanese one here, and okay, for the sizes, what I found is 90 by 9 is just working perfectly. Really nice, really crisp. So I would recommend using it. For packing method, I would choose optimum. And really important, it's not percentage, it's pixel. So set the pixel. Atlas resolution, right now I'm just gonna set it to a small one just for demonstration. And for the character set, you can set it to custom characters. So in here, I can actually paste it. So I will have these 3 characters now as baked. So generate this font atlas and edit created it, save, and I'm just going to save it to this font folder. This is the font asset here. Okay, so if you're going back here and select this latter, so this font asset, you could set the fallback fonts here, but actually you can make a completely global fallback font, because if we are using this version, but then later on you want this one and you change it, then you have to set up the fallback fonts all over again. But if you just look for the TMP settings, this is a scriptable object in Assets, TextMeshPro resources. So in the TMP settings, you can set these global fallback fonts. So for here, I'm just going to add this Noto Sans regular. And now if I press play, go in here and paste it, voila, it works. But it's really important, this font asset is static. So if I press start and selecting a different one and paste it here, again, it's not working. Why is that? So because in the font atlas, we just have these 3 characters. If I add it here and generate the font atlas and then save it, press play again. And now if I paste these, it's working. But again, new characters, not working. So the solution for that is actually pretty simple, is select all these text, copy it, go into the font creator and just paste it. And then generate font atlas. In this case, it's really important to check out if all of them fits, because there could be some cases, some of them are missing and it will be a missing character. So just remember to increase the atlas resolution if it looks like it's going to be crowded and it won't fit. But in this case, it does fit. And now I changed it to Japanese. All of the text is just working, except this bit what we are handling the encode. So, but again, the previous issue. So again, right now I can paste any of these symbols. It will work, but let's say translate from English to Japanese and Google translate. Hopefully these are not going to be found in there. So if I paste this, see, missing 2 characters. Okay, so these 2 characters are not in the static font atlas. Again, what can we do? Well, this one is a really cool idea. You can set it to dynamic, and the dynamic is going to generate all of the fonts. What the font asset has, it can reach all of the fonts. So I'm just going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it dynamic. So what you need to do is set it to dynamic. Really important to match the sampling point size and the padding while you had in the atlas. So 90 and 9. So it's very important. Atlas width, at this point, it doesn't really matter. So I just set it to small one, but you should enable the multi-atlas textures and apply. And what it will do is whenever we use it, it's just going to create multiple atlases if it's running out from the atlas width and height. So that's really important. And now the original font asset, we can set just this simple individual one as a fallback. And now if we press play, and I'm going to copy this again if I don't have anything. So start, set it to Japanese and paste it, and voila, those 2 are there. Now, the question is valid. Why would I even use the static one if we can use just the dynamic? And you are absolutely right. But this one, the dynamic one, is actually using quite the resources. So whenever you start your game and changing the local, it just have to go through each individual character in your whole scene and finding the matching one. So instead of that, for your static ones, what you already know what it looks like, just use the static one and just bake all the characters. So if you use that one, and whenever it's running out, it's gonna go to the dynamic one. So in our case, when we are typing, you have some typing stuff in it. So yeah, that's basically it. And from this on, actually, in this case, I did miss out one thing. If I go into the Atlas texture, and I haven't added this Japanese here, I'm just gonna paste it, and I'm just gonna add it just somewhere here. It doesn't matter. There you go. Generate font atlas, and now this one's baked as well. I just want to note some characters are not in here, and that's probably the 0 and percentage, I think. So those characters that probably found in the other one. So yeah, saving that, and it will just work. So what we need to do with the others is the same. So again, TextMeshPro, font asset creator, do the Korean 1990 pixel optimum. This will do, and just not going to select any font asset. Yeah, actually I can copy it, paste, and I'm going to copy from the other one, Korean, and generate font atlas, and save it as a Korean. So I'm just going to do that with all of them and create the dynamic one as well. Okay, I set up all the dynamic fonts, and what I still need to do is head to the TMP settings and add these other 4 fonts. So this was the Korean, Chinese, and Thai. Okay, and if we press play, change the language to Japanese. Yeah, Japanese, Hungarian, Korean. What else? Turkish. Which one was the Hebrew? Might be not here. But yeah, if you need fonts for Hebrew. Oh yeah, this is the Arabic. Yeah, this one does. It looks like that font asset I have is containing that one. What was Russian? They have something different. Yeah. And the Chinese. Awesome. Yeah. I haven't localized this one, but you get the idea. And in here, the Chinese loading. Okay, so yeah, and one more thing. Some characters are identical in Japanese and in the simplified Chinese. And it can cause some problems. Well, I found this bug. So what happens is you press start changing the local to, for example, Chinese, and you will have some kind of error that the TextMeshPro Atlas is missing or something like that. Don't know why it happens. It's a really strange bug. It haven't been fixed, but I did find a solution. All you need to do is go to the Japanese or whatever language you have issues with, and just go to both the dynamic and the static one. So in the dynamic, just uncheck the multi-atlas, apply, check it back, apply. And on the static one, just change it to dynamic for a second, enable multi-atlas textures, disable it again, and change it back to static. This fixes it. I have no idea why, but that's a fix. It worked 100% of the time. It always worked for me. So you can go through all the languages if you want to be comfortable with it. But yeah, that just worked for me. So I think I covered everything. And if you are interested in similar videos like this, covering, for example, lighting, just click here and see you in the next video.